Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles, Mario responded to my Face Palm Sunday video, and this is my response. But before we begin, Audible.com is a company hosted by Amazon that hosts thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of audiobooks for your listening entertainment and enjoyment. Recently, I have been listening to a lot of Star Wars novels through Audible.com, and if you use my vanity URL, linked right here, audible.com/MrRepzion, you will get a 1-month free trial for Audible.com, along with a free audiobook for your choosing. They have a massive wide selection of audiobooks. It is so easy to use on the go, on the plane, laying in bed, on a jog, and even while sitting on the toilet. If you want me to keep seeking truth? I have been. In fact, I'm to the point in my life where if new evidence comes down from a scientific perspective or standpoint and says, hey, we have evidence for a divine creator or some sort of intelligent being that created the world, I'd believe it.
Okay, so that is where Mr. Repzion makes his first mistake. Now, with the atheists, what happens is they have a strictly scientific and material worldview. So, like he just said, if scientific evidence was presented, he didn't say philosophical evidence or intellectual evidence.
I have to ask the question, what the hell is intellectual evidence? That's one I have not heard before.
Or reasoning. It has to be scientific because they limit themselves to only a scientific and material worldview.
I'd quickly like to mention something here, and this is not super important of a point, but I feel as if I should mention it, is that I do not believe that atheism is a worldview, which is something that you refer to atheism as quite a lot in all of your other videos, including this one to me. But if we actually look at the book, The Universe Next Door, which is actually taught in Christian colleges, it's a great book on a lot of different philosophical ideologies and concepts. The book, written by James Sire, defines a worldview is a set of presuppositions or assumptions which we hold consciously or subconsciously about the makeup of our world. So to put it simply, a worldview is how an individual views the world. But more than that, atheism simply means a lack of belief in a deity or gods. Nothing else. So when religious folks like yourself say that atheism is a worldview, I would say, no, it's really not. Atheism is not an ism in the sense like Buddhism, Mormonism, that have certain systematic doctrines and tenets set up on what they believe about the world. You know, these types of religions, even Christianity, for example, they attempt to answer the origins of the universe and why we're here. Well, atheism doesn't do that at all. It simply is a word to describe the non-belief in a god. Taking a step further, I could say propelism. Propelism is a worldview. Obviously, it's not, because atheism doesn't make any big statements, or doesn't really say anything about the origins of the universe, our life, and the crazy thing is that every atheist views the world differently, and it is possible to have a worldview and it not be actually in religion. Another thing that I'd like to mention regarding atheism is that atheism does not claim that there is no God. Now, are there atheists who claim this? Of course there are. They're known as a strong atheist. But most atheists don't claim to know that there is no God. Most atheists that I know don't even claim that. It's simply that we don't have enough empirical data or evidence to prove that a God exists. That's it. It's really that simple.
Go back in your mind to when you went to school. Was it just math and science that they taught us? No, they taught us philosophy. They taught us how to write. They taught us art. There are different ways of seeking God. Art can be a way that it brings you to God.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles, I had a very unique experience which brought me to God. This afternoon, as I was cooking myself lunch, I made myself a grilled cheese sandwich. And as I was frying the bread and the melted cheese, the face of Jesus appeared on my sandwich. Jesus Christ revealed himself through my grilled cheese. And now, this is how I seek God.
not science and math. You can see beauty and just look at a painting of a mountain that you're doing, and just the awe and beauty will make you see that there's a creator. Or there's philosophical evidence, and that's the approach that I'm going to be taking with you here today. But Mr. Epsion, your approach of being strictly scientific and material is limiting you to having a full understanding of the reality that you live in.
And here is where I need to correct you. You constantly say in this video, materialism, materialism, the atheist materialist. And today I want to summarize and fix this up, is that atheism does not mandate materialism. One of the most common thing I see among Christians such as yourself and other people that I've responded to on my channel is that they label atheism with being a materialist. And this is not my position at all. I am not a materialist. And again, atheism does not mandate that you be a materialist to begin with. I am what is known as a methodological naturalist. Methodological naturalism simply means that empirical claims require empirical evidence. That's it. It's really that simple. And I should also note is that methodological naturalism is not against and does not exclude the ability for miracles to actually occur. To give you a deeper understanding of what methodological naturalism is, I have a link down below which takes you right here, and I'll just kind of briefly jump into it. Methodological naturalists see philosophy and science as engaged in an essentially the same enterprise, pursuing similar ends using similar methods. Methodological anti-naturalists see philosophy as a disjoint from science with distinct ends and methods. In this sense, methodological naturalism asserts that religious commitment has no relevance within science. Natural science itself requires no specific attitude to religion and can be practiced just as well by adherents of religious faiths as by atheists or agnostics. And I realize this is my third time saying it, but I want to get you, Mario, and other people off this label of atheists that if you're an atheist, that you're automatically a materialist. It doesn't mandate it. It's not a requirement. Are some atheist materialists? Sure. But I am a methodological naturalist, now that you know what that is. Why your God, even the biblical God, Jesus, the biblical Jesus, is the truth. Why is he the truth versus all the other religions who have iconic deity figures, and other religions claim that their God is the truth? So how do you, Mario, differentiate between all of these different religions that say, we are the truth, we are the truth, we are the truth? Explain it to me, and don't use the Bible. And believe me, if you can come up with a sustainable reason as to why I should look to Jesus as being the truth without using the Bible as a source, I will listen to you. I will watch your video. You can count on that. My name is Daniel Sulzbach, also known as Mr. Repzion. Thank you for watching my video. Peace the rep out, and have a fantastic Sunday.
So that was, like I said, I actually pretty much enjoyed that video. I think it's a great challenge, so let me just respond to that. I'm not going to be using biblical arguments. What I'm going to be doing is Mr. Repzion approaching you from a philosophical standpoint. Philosophy is, in the Greek, philo, meaning love of, sophi, wisdom. It is the love of wisdom. The atheistic, material scientific worldview is void of philosophy, of wisdom. So what I'm going to do here is challenge you to a philosophical debate on the nature of truth. So where I'd like to start off is truth absolute or is it relative? In the Christian worldview, truth is absolute. The philosophical understanding of truth is that it is absolute. Error exists, right and wrong exist, and God himself decided. So there's an absolute.
I want you to notice that key final point, and God himself decides it. So God is absolute. He has given us the absolute moral standard. That is what you, Mario, and the Christian religion, the Christian faith, believes.
In atheism, truth is relative. I can have a truth, you can have a truth, Buddha can have a truth, everyone can have a truth, but they're all true. This is logically flawed, and I'll show you why. My truth says yours is a lie. Can we both be true then? No. Truth cannot be relative. So before I get too much in arguing back and forth with you, I don't really know your position, so I'm just going to ask that you state your philosophical position on the very nature of truth. Is it relative and is it absolute?
Mario, do you even know why I challenged you and asked you, why is Jesus the truth? Why is God truth? Do you know why I asked you those questions? Because I want to know and I don't have an answer. And what I mean by this is, well, let me back up. First of all, you're wrong here. I am not a moral relativist, and you really need to stop labeling atheists with certain beliefs and certain structures of things that they believe. I've already shown to you that I am not a materialist, I'm a methodological naturalist. Next, you make this assessment that all atheists are relativists. This is not true. I do not believe that every religion or every person has their own individual truth. Relativism is a really dangerous path to tread down. I don't tread down that route. I'm not a moral relativist. I will never be a relativist, and it's, I think, an illogical area of philosophical position to hold. Now, in regards to your question, is there such thing as absolute truth? I don't know. That is why I challenged you to begin, Mario. That's why I challenged you, because you're the person with the burden of proof. You are the Christian of the Christian religion claiming that God is the moral standard, that God is truth, that Jesus is the way, the truth, the life, the Father. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's why I asked you that question. I almost feel as if you're asking me this question about do absolute truths exist versus relativism is kind of a trick question. But I'm flat out saying this. I don't have an answer for you. I'm not a relativist. It's wrong for you to assume that all atheists are relativists, but I'm not a relativist. To me, let me answer it this way. I'm not going to answer the question, do absolute truths exist, because I don't exactly know. The question, what is truth, is probably one of the biggest philosophical questions that's been being explored for hundreds of years by famous philosophers. And for you to ask me, what is truth, I don't have an answer. I don't know. And that's where you come in. That's where you're defending of truth, because you claim that Jesus is truth, that God is truth. And that's where you need to defend your position, and that's why I'm asking to challenge you, because I want to hear what you, Christians, have to say regarding God being absolute truth. However, this is the question that I will answer. What is truth to me? This is not the same thing as absolute truth, but what is truth? I define truth as things that have been verified, that are not based simply upon my opinion or your opinion. Truth is what we know to be the reality of our world. I use evidence and science and methodological naturalism to discover knowledge and to discover what's true about our universe as a whole. To me, truth is in fact subjective, and what I mean by this is that truth can change, science can change, and that's why I love being in the position that I am as an atheist, because when I observe and see things, I can change my beliefs about certain things of plants and animals and science, the creation of the world, space. All of these things can easily change because I believe truth is subjective, and we're always taking in new information and learning things. I love the ability to be able to change my mind and perspective of the world around me, especially when we find new information, new evidence, new scientific findings to contradict or disprove things that we thought were right when we find out they were actually wrong.
And I'll respond accordingly. Now, what I'd also like to do here is encourage you, and in fact, what I'd like to do, Mr. Repzion, I'd like to buy you this book. It's called Why Jesus, or Jesus Among Other Gods, by a Christian apologist, Ravi Zacharias.
Mario, I appreciate the book recommendation, but I've actually already read that book that you recommend me. I'm not too fond of book recommendations because I made my video to you because I wanted to hear what you had to say regarding Jesus among all of the other gods that are out there. Why is Jesus the truth compared to all of the other gods? And I want to make it very clear to you, Mario, that I am more than prepared and qualified to respond to you if you use any arguments out of Zacharias' book, because I've read it. In fact, at my parents' house right now, I have a library of Christian apologetic books, especially the books by Josh McDowell. Specifically, he had a gigantic, there was a huge, 1,000-page book on apologetics and defending Christianity. I read that book. I'm familiar with the arguments. I'm familiar with all of that stuff. I've read most of Xavier Zacharias' books, with the exception, I think, of 2, which I haven't read. And despite reading those books, I'm ready to respond. So if you use any arguments out of those books, I'm more than willing to respond to you correctly on why they fail, on why many of the things and arguments that even Xavier Zacharias... Xavier Zacharias is one of the more few Christian apologists that I actually can stand. I do agree with that, but he's still... I don't believe he's... Some of the things, his arguments are pretty bad, but at the same time, I like him more than other Christian apologists. Nonetheless, if you want to go down that route of using his arguments in his book against me in your videos, by all means, I encourage you to do so. But I want to make it clear that I want you, Mario, I want you to defend your faith, what you believe, and explain to me why God is the absolute truth. As mentioned earlier, I don't have an answer to do absolute truths exist. I have my definition of what I think truth is, but that's different than absolute truth. You believe that God is the moral lawgiver, that God is truth, and with that, you have the burden to argue and show me why I should believe it. And I'm curious, I want to see, in your own words, what you have to say. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Sulzbach, also known as Mr. Repzion. Thank you for watching this video, and look forward to my next video on Sunday, which will be another religious response to someone who I already dealt with previously, but I'm going to be making another video to him. Anyways, peace the rep out, guys, and have a fantastic Friday.